Kansas City, Missouri, in Kemper Arena was the site of the 1988 NCAA Finals, won by the Kansas Jayhawks. And right now, for the introduction of the starting lineups, the public address announcer, Mark Fitzpatrick.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Kemper Arena for today's NCAA Midwest Regional Final game between the Memphis State Tigers and the Cincinnati Bearcats. And now, let's meet the starting lineups. For Memphis State, at forward, a 6'9" freshman from Nashville, Tennessee, number 50, David Vaughn. For Cincinnati, at forward, a 6'4" senior from Atlanta, Georgia, number 34, Herb Jones. For Memphis State, at forward, a 6'7" sophomore from Memphis, Tennessee, number 25, Anthony Hardaway. For Cincinnati, at forward, a 6'5" junior from Long Beach, California, number 33, Terry Nelson. For Memphis State, at center, a 6'7" junior from Memphis, Tennessee, number 55, Anthony Douglas. For Cincinnati, at center, a 6'10" junior from Monrovia, California, number 44, Corey Blunt. For Memphis State, at guard, a 6'5" junior from Memphis, Tennessee, number 35, Billy Smith. For Cincinnati, at guard, a 6'3" senior from Flint, Michigan, number 23, Anthony Buford. For Memphis State, at guard, a 6'1" senior from Memphis, Tennessee, number 20, Tony Madlock. And for Cincinnati, at guard, a 6'1" junior from Kenosha, Wisconsin, number 31, Nick Van Exel. And the coaches for Memphis State in his 6th season, Larry Finch. For Cincinnati in his 3rd season, Bob Huggins.
So the stage is set. Cincinnati at 28-4 on the year. They've won 9 in a row. The Memphis State Tigers are 23-10. And right now, let's bring in the 3rd member of our team, Jim Gray. Jim?
All right, Dick, Memphis State's a very young team, and just a short time ago I had the opportunity to speak to head coach Larry Finch, and he told me that the first 5 minutes of this game will be very critical to his team. If they can withstand the pressure that Cincinnati will place on them, he feels that they'll be able to relax and settle into their game. He said in his pregame speech, he told his players that this year, guys, we're the hunter. Next year will be the hunted. And even though we're young, there's no guarantee we'll ever be this far in the tournament again, so we better take advantage of this opportunity now while we have it. Dick?
All right, Jim. Ted Valentine from Westerville, Ohio. Gene Monge from Henrietta, New York, and John Koskinen of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania are the officials working this game. Memphis State, last time they were in the Final Four was in 1985 when they lost to Villanova, the eventual shocking champion in the semifinal.
Larry here said, I was in the Final Four as a player. I was in the Final Four as an assistant coach. I want to go to the Final Four as a head coach. Maybe his dream will become a reality.
Looking to pull the triple. And 37-year-old Bob Huggins. If you want to say intense in describing Bob Huggins, that would be an understatement.
He's a physical coach. I call him Coach Fierce. But the surprising thing about him is that he's an academic All-American his last 2 years at West Virginia.
Blunt and Hardaway will jump center. Cincinnati in the white. Memphis State has the ball. Going to get it in low to Anthony Douglas. Memphis State gets the first basket. This is what the Tiger fans do after the first basket in every game. The confetti flies. Blunt Gets around Douglas, gets some help from Hardaway, but the Bearcats tie the score.
Douglas cannot come up on Blunt. Blunt is a finesse center. He's not a power center. So you got to be careful when you come up on him. Here comes the first trap. Ooh, he got an elbow.
And they almost broke it. Terry Nelson had deflected the ball. It's still Memphis State's possession.
Watch Nick Van Exel here get an elbow right there. Didn't go down for the count. He's okay. It was accidental.
Pass inside to Douglas. It was blocked by Van Exel. Cincinnati's defense is fourth, an average of 21 turnovers. Billy Smith.
Billy Smith, the saying is so true about him. He's never seen a shot he didn't like. He comes out shooting. Very important for the Tigers now to stay even the first 6-7 minutes of the game psychologically.
Terry Nelson in the corner. Keep the big man out. Open inside for the Bearcats.
Mainly open for Herb Jones to penetrate.
They get the ball inside to Nelson. Jones, their leading scorer, follows it up, and Memphis State playing superb defense. And a turnover as Madlock couldn't handle the short hop.
It was a bad pass. It was too close to his feet, but he still should have been able to handle it being a point guard. He's the senior. He's the coach on the floor, Tony Madlock. So far, straight man-to-man on both ends.
Great feed to Van Exel from Blunt. They went from the center to the guard, penetrating, and the basket is good and a foul.
If you notice the referees going over there, what they're saying is, let's stop the trash. Now watch here. You'll see after he scores, he'll say something, if we can follow that deep. They see him saying something there? Now the refs come over right away and they say, hey, no trash. This is one of the things that they're trying to stop in the tournament and during the regular season.
Memphis State and Arkansas had 2 games this year in which they were talking trash, and of course, being the 4th time these teams have met, no surprise. The personal was on Madlock. Nick Van Exel completes the 3-point play, and it's 5-4 now. Cincinnati.
That's where the Tigers had a break. They didn't have to prepare against his pressure. They faced it 3 times already.
Madlock, nice through. He gets a chance for a 3-point play. And they're still jawing at each other.
That might be the highest I've ever seen anyone lay a ball on the glass and go in. Watch how high this ball sits up in the glass. Here's the penetration to the right. Now watch how high it goes. It almost went over the backboard. Blunt was coming at him. You see Blunt coming over?
Corey Blunt with his first personal foul. He got into early foul trouble against UTEP. So here's Tony Madlock. Madlock's the man you want on the free throw line. He hit 6 in a row in overtime, but he misses his first attempt here.
Token pressure by the Tigers. Nothing to write home about, just annoying.
Cincinnati won 3 games by an average of just over 10 points a game. None of the games were really close. Here is Buford missing a 3, and on the other side, Blunt keeps it alive for Cincinnati. Blunt with a turnaround. Might have been too far away from the basket, but he had a good line drive shot.
No trajectory on it. It was a clothesline shot. Here's the trap.
They get it into Madlock. Short jumper by Tony Madlock.
The thing that hurts Cincinnati, if their trap's not working, it's like, who do you go to? That's why a lot of guys like to have a good 6th man, because you make the move, you go to power. But if the Bearcats' trap doesn't work, they got to pretty much go to a half-court setup, which they don't want to do.
Both teams will go deep into their bench. Here's Van Exel. Madlock made him change it, and it's tipped up and in.
By Vaughn. That was tipped in by the wrong guy.
They're going to give credit to the basket to Herb Jones.
What they do in that situation, Dick, they give credit to the nearest person to the shot.
It was Herb Jones, and now he goes up and hits another jumper. He was the 2nd leading scorer in the Great Midwest Conference, and he had 24 points against UTEP. And once again, they break the pressure, but Madlock too far under the basket. And they're going to jump it, and the possession arrow favors Cincinnati.
Here's the penetration. Now watch the pass. Excellent pass.
And they rolled a tie-up, so Cincinnati leading by 3. Nearly 4 minutes have elapsed in this first half.
So far, it's been a quick whistle. Memphis State wants a quick whistle. Cincinnati wants a slow whistle. A slow whistle lets you play more and more caddy. The reason Cincinnati wants a slow whistle is because of their traps.
Nick Van Exel way off balance off the side of the backboard, and Memphis State has a 3-on-2 fast break. Billy Smith leads the way in.
Got about 2 minutes to go. If they stay this tight, 6 minutes into the game, they have neutralized Cincinnati's pressure.
Van Exel looking inside for Corey Blunt.
You notice Corey Blunt will not go to the basket. He finesses his way away from the basket.
We have a turn on the floor.
Cincinnati Bearcats with a 1-point lead in the first half of this Midwest Regional Final, and coming up next will be the Southeast Regional Final from Lexington, Kentucky. 2 Big East to Big Ten powers, Michigan and Ohio State, going in that game.
Well, Ohio State, JJ must hit his J. And Lawrence Funderburk, he is the wild card. He must play up to his clippings.
Michigan has the freshman. You and Billy were going at a little bit yesterday in discussing the freshmen versus the veterans.
One of the problems with freshmen, if they fall behind, they're in trouble. So they must maintain the lead or stay close. They can outleap you, outreach you, and outrun you, but they must stay close. If they drop too far behind, they'll have a serious problem.
Billy Packer thinks they're a matured group now. Ernest Smith has entered the lineup for Memphis State. And a 3-point basket by Smith, normally known for his defense.
Normally, you tell a guy, wait till you get a light sweat before you shoot. He waited about 2 seconds. Now, he will pick up Van Exel, trying to take Van Exel out of the game. See him bent over there, D. He's big on D.
Corey Blunt again playing the high post as the big man for Cincinnati. And a foul is called against Memphis State.
Hardaway. A little bit too much hands in there that time, Dick.
Penny Hardaway and David Vaughn have hardly touched the ball in the first 5.5 minutes of this game. Nonetheless, Memphis State is leading by 2.
Well, Cincinnati feels with Hardaway, you cut the head off, the body dies.
There's a turnover off the hands of Terry Nelson. Sometimes the body doesn't die when you cut off the head. Have you ever seen that?
There's one guy I know they cut it off when he was 50, but only lasted until 62.
Got 12 good more years out of it. Ernest Smith misses this time after connecting on the 3. So Cincinnati in a position to tie the game. Feed inside. Maybe that little extra pass. Herb Jones. Jones got it from Van Exel. Good interior passing for the Bearcats to tie the game.
Van Exel, the point guard for Cincinnati, is also a scorer.
Douglas going in strong.
Cincinnati is not a good shooting team. They get their points on turnovers and missed shots.
And they took advantage of the missed basket there and got it down in a hurry. This is the kind of style Bob Huggins loves. He was a little concerned with UTEP and the way they would slow the game up, but Memphis State is not likely to do that.
I've had Memphis State now a couple of times. One of their Achilles heels is they don't protect the backcourt.
David Vaughn, who is the coach's nephew, gets the bounce. And we understand Larry Finch has a bunch of other nephews, including David Vaughn's brother, who's 12 years old, that he thinks is going to be a star someday.
Well, when I asked him yesterday how many you have, and he started to count them, when he got to his toes, I said, hey, it's lunchtime. Let's get out of here. That meant he got to 12 or 13 nephews.
Van Exel misses the 3, and here's Hardaway.
What a pass. Unbelievable.
Well, he's never seen a pass he didn't like. You talk about the shooters. Wild shot by Smith, and Vaughn on the follow-up is fouled.
What an unbelievable pass. The same way yesterday, Leighton is getting all the credit. Hey, the pass from Grant Hill on the elbow, which means where the foul line meets the court, That was the key to Duke winning the game. Not the shot, the pass. Here it comes. He flips it, looking over at us. On the money, honey.
Second personal foul on Corey Blunt. He leaves the game, and Jeff Scott replaces him. And a substitution for Memphis State, Kelvin Allen is replaced Anthony Douglas. That's Alan Jackson, who's the backup point guard who started earlier in the season for the Bearcats. So here's David Vaughn on the free throw line. He had the winning basket against Arkansas to get Memphis State here to the regional semifinals.
Now, the last few years, both these clubs have had little problems. They've been on cruise control, but both clubs and coaching staffs are thinking, hey, if we can win today, we're touching the dynasties, the Dukes and the Indianas and the Bobby Knights and the Coach K's. It's kind of Park Avenue, top shelf, above the trees, the Eagles, that type of stuff.
That's what they're all aiming for, and you can imagine if Cincinnati happens to face Ohio State, if it works out that way, that'll revive one of the great tournament matchups of years past. So in the game now, Alan Jackson is the point guard, Eric Martin and Jeff Scott up front. So Bob Huggins is going deep into his bench here with 12:50 to go. Scott couldn't handle the pass, and another Cincinnati turnover. Memphis State, they've got their fans here, about 3,000, maybe more, leading by a point.
Coach Finch has solved the problem so far of being trapped out, bear trapped out.
Hardaway with a great feed inside, and Kelvin Allen is fouled. You wonder how Hardaway could spot Allen, but he was making passes like this last week in Milwaukee as well.
You know, I hate comparing anybody, but this is a Magic Johnson at this stage of the game. When Magic Johnson was a sophomore, exactly the same. And I think Hardaway can shoot better from the outside than Magic could at this time. He's an unbelievable passer. He hits you in the back of the head. Again, it's God-given ability. You don't teach it.
He has been blessed with a gift, and he has had to overcome some obstacles as well. He did not play last year, sat out because of academic problems. You know the story. He was a victim of a robbery and had a bullet in his foot, and he had to have surgery there, but here he is, a 6'7" sophomore in his first full year of college ball, as Allen has hit the free throw, and Memphis State has run off 5 in a row.
Full set play. Again, half-court offense is a soft spot of the Bearcats. They'll try to kick it into to Jones if they can. Herb Jones, he's their scorer.
Jones and Buford are the only starters still in the game for Cincinnati. And here is Jones, top of the key. Misses the three and the rebound. Kelvin Allen finally gets control and loses it to Martin. Here's Jones again.
Nice move, nice step move that time. He put Hardaway upstairs.
And Herb Jones has scored 8 of Cincinnati's 17 points with just under 12 minutes to go in the first half. Vaughn beats the defense and will go to the line to shoot 2. And so far, Memphis State has effectively beaten Cincinnati's trap.
Well, the most important thing there, I think he took 2 seconds hang time.
You can do that if you don't want to land on a teammate or an opponent.
Now, you can legally hang on the rim. There's a chance you might get physically hurt.
Ernest Smith, the defensive star of the last 2 games, comes out of the game, and Tony Madlock, the starting point guard, replaces him. Here's David Vaughn. He's been the best shooter for Memphis State against Cincinnati this season.
Now here's how he's shooting from the line. There's the pass. And there's the hang time. Oh, that was more than 2 seconds. About 3 seconds hang time.
And I didn't see any players underneath that he was worried about landing them. Vaughn gets the free throws. So Vaughn now has 5 points. At the conclusion of every NCAA tournament game, we will select the Chevrolet players of the game. And in conjunction with the award, Chevrolet will donate $1,000 to the General Scholarship Fund of both schools. Cincinnati will inbound. Eric Martin got Anthony Buford, along with Alan Jackson, Jeff Scott, and Herb Jones. Tim Duncan has come in the game. He's a bruising forward for Memphis State. And Cincinnati almost turned it over another time. And they did, into the hands of Madlock.
Teams that press don't like being pressed.
Here's Billy Smith. This is what he does best. Misses a three. He had broken out of his shooting slump, and now the Bearcats come back. Eric Martin.
Real strong move to the basket that time. No fear.
Hardaway coming back. And he scores. And it'll be an offensive foul.
Let's see if the basket's good or not. Let's see. No basket. They wave it off. Now, again, that means that the ball was not released before he made contact. Now, let's follow it. Here he goes. Good call by the Zebras.
More important now as we see the play again. Not that he didn't get the basket, but it's his second personal foul. So Hardaway now with two personals. Blunt, the starting center for the Bearcats, has two. But Blunt right now is on the bench. Hardaway remains in the game for Memphis State. Tigers lead by 1. They have lost 3 in a row to these Cincinnati Bearcats this year.
Boy, and they're keeping Hardaway on Jones. That's a tough matchup because Jones is going to be going to the basket, creating action. Here he is. Hardaway's laying off him a little bit.
Arcing shot from the corner will drop for Anthony Buford. Buford is the best three-point shooter for Cincinnati, but that's just the 2. And the Bearcats regain the lead. So far, Memphis State has handled the trap well, both the three-quarter and the half-court.
They're now in a combination as Cincinnati. They're sitting back in the zone, and Memphis State has to take a little bit more time and analyze against the zone. You can't giddy up against the zone.
Jeff Scott with his second personal foul. Several of the Bearcats got into foul trouble against UTEP, despite the fact that they had dominated the Miners for most of the game on Friday night. Nearly halfway through this opening half, Hardaway, who has still not scored, finds Ernest Smith. He missed the 3, but it's still Memphis State's ball. Hardaway wide open for the 3, and now he's on the scoreboard.
You must play Penny all the time. Penny's Hardaway's nickname.
Breaking the trap. 3-on-2. Buford slices in, and he'll go to the free throw line. Both teams trapping, and both teams are breaking the trap. And it could be a high-scoring game here with Memphis State in front 23-21.
I think they'll tire in the second half. But the key to Memphis State, and we're repeating this, we're beating a dead horse to death, I guess.
He's already dead.
But they have handled the pressure, and that's the way to beat Cincinnati.
Terry Nelson checked in for Cincinnati, and David Vaughn for Memphis State.
Cincinnati doesn't have a true center. Most of their scoring is on turnovers and off the glass. That's off missed shots.
Personal foul was on Kelvin Allen. Buford is successful on both free throws. Here's another swingman, Terrence Gibson. 6'3" junior from Dothan, Alabama, who's a defensive spark.
Yeah, they'll pick up the tempo a little bit with him in there. They're in a 1-3-1 right now.
Buford goes to the Cincinnati bench, having scored 4 points. 9:35 to go in the first half. Tied at 23.
Madlock should be able to get free. You can't let him shoot from there.
Hardaway made a 3 before. And this time Ernest Smith is fouled inside. Next week, the Final Four. Duke in Indiana. Bobby Knight against former captain Mike Krzyzewski at West Point. And the winner of this game will take on the survivor of the Southeast Regional coming up next between Michigan and Ohio State.
Duke, Indiana will be some physical ball game. I predict that game will get the highest ratings of any college basketball game since Dr. Naismith.
So you viewers out there, make sure you watch to back up Al McGuire. We don't want him to look bad. Corey Blunt back in the game. He'll be playing with 2 fouls, and Eric Martin goes to the bench. He too has a pair. Ernest Smith with the free throw.
2-2-1 pressure up court. Just to man-to-man. Now they're in man-to-man.
Lawrence Gibson with the ball in the corner. Got Nelson, Jones, Van Exel, and Blunt. So 4 of the starters for Cincinnati are on the court now. Van Exel found an opening. And a foul before the shot.
Too aggressive on Madlock. Too much hands.
So for Madlock, that'll be his second personal foul. Team fouls. Memphis State has 5 and Cincinnati 6. One more against the Bearcats, and the Tigers will be on the line for 1-1.
Van Exel, a kid from Kenosha, Wisconsin, is too quick for Madlock in the open court.
Only one player on the Cincinnati roster entered as a freshman. They have 8 junior college players and 2 transfers. Memphis State, purely homegrown. Most of their players are from the city of Memphis. And a great steal by Hardaway. He's got a 2-on-1 with only Nelson back. No foul. They let him play there, Al.
Good. He tripped himself. He wasn't tripped by an opponent, in my opinion. What happened that time, the Bearcats didn't realize that that Memphis State went to a zone. See them in the zone here? Here comes the steal. He didn't analyze the defense. Now let's see if he tripped himself. I thought he did. Yes, he tripped himself there.
Good no call. Less than 8.5 remaining in the first half. And reaching in, Memphis State. And a foul called against Tim Duncan. And returning to the game, Anthony Douglas, the starting center. There's Douglas.
When 2 teams meet like this after the 3rd time, the 4th time, the refs have to really stay with the quick whistle. They know each other. It's so high-octane type of game. So you've got to make sure they don't start pushing and shoving.
Trying to get control early, and I think they've pretty much succeeded. Van Exel can't fake Vaughn. Sideways, body to body, and Van Exel scores, and it's 25-24 Cincinnati. We have already had 11 lead changes in this game.
Watch Nick Van Exel get his hip in here, because otherwise Vaughn at his size could have blocked that shot from the rear.
Memphis State's ball when we come back.
The NCAA Basketball Championship on CBS.
And a full menu next Saturday on CBS Sports. The NCAA Women's Basketball Final Four show, and then the semifinals at 12:30 Eastern Time, and then the Final Four show, and at 5:30 Eastern, the NCAA Men's Final Four semifinals from the Metrodome in Minneapolis. Dick Stockton and Al McGuire here at Kansas City. Cincinnati leads by 1. The next foul by either side will result in a 1-and-1 situation. Neither team has led by more than 3 points thus far. Billy Smith driving a baseline over Eric Martin. Hits.
Nice pull-up, got his balance. That's the key. When you drive, and first get your balance when you pull up, and then elevate.
Only losses for the Bearcats this year to Michigan State. They lost to Bobby Knight's Indiana Hoosiers, and twice to DePaul out of their own Great Midwest Conference.
Memphis State, if they didn't beat UAB in the first round of the Great Midwest Tournament, they wouldn't be here. They'd be in the NIT.
Van Exel with a fall away from the baseline. And it's 27-26. So Hardaway is on the bench for the first time for Memphis State. They've got Madlock and Billy Smith along with Douglas, Ernest Smith, and David Vaughn. So in essence playing 3 guards right now.
Spreading it out.
Billy Smith from the baseline. Eric Martin gets the rebound, and here comes Van Exel. He pulls up for the 3, and he's got it.
I think it's time Memphis State went to a combination on Nick Van Exel. He's a player's player.
Longest advantage for either side, 4 points, and Van Exel has 10. Good feed inside, and Douglas is fouled by Eric Martin, and that will be his 3rd personal foul. He's been a very important banger off the bench for Bob Huggins.
Martin had no choice that time. He was caught behind with a big guy. He's a transfer from Texas Christian University. Played 1 year there, went to a junior college, and then came on to Cincinnati.
Anthony Buford checks back in for Cincinnati, and Anthony Hardaway, after a brief respite, replaces Ernest Smith. Jeff Scott, he's in there, and he's playing with 2 personal fouls. Anthony Douglas on the free throw line. He was the best player off the bench for the Tigers in the first 13 games before they moved him up to a starting berth, and he's delivered.
They nicknamed him 6. You know why? because he was 6 feet in 6th grade. So the kids called him Six, and the nickname has stayed with him. So let's see if he can six this one in.
I want to see the guy who's nicknamed 8 in junior high.
Probably Sean Bradley from BYU. Because if he comes back off the missions, he's going to revolutionize the rules of basketball. Not only college, but also pro. Nice dish.
And Exel to Jones, and he's fouled. Is it because he's that tall or that good?
He's that good. He's 7'5", 7'6", but he's that good. Right today, he's 3-4 times the ability of ball. And this guy can water ski, hit a golf ball. So remember, Sean Bradley will revolutionize basketball.
Marcus Nolan, a freshman ball handler out of Memphis who has seen plenty of action in this tournament, has come in replacing Madlock. David Vaughn committed the personal foul, and here's Herb Jones, the best junior college player in the state of Kansas 2 years ago and a big favorite here in Kansas City.
Had 24 points against UTEP. That's a lot of money.
Cincinnati opens up a 6-point lead.
Now here's where they try to get you. They get a run going that they can turn you now. Here comes the trap at half court. Got 3 guys on him. There they got you.
Scott. But he saves it into the hands of David Vaughn. Hardaway hits the 3, and that's a big momentum breaker for Memphis State.
So smooth from downtown.
Hardaway now has 6 points, coming on 2 3-point home runs. Breaking the trap is Van Exel.
Well, the Bearcats wanted that turnover, then they got it. They could smell blood.
Nelson has it knocked away by Hardaway, and Scott bounces into Nelson.
And he reached in. That's the third. On to Pine City for Penny Hardaway.
3 fouls on Anthony Hardaway, and that's a big break for Cincinnati.
Here's the trap now because they put 3 guys on him. 2 fellas now go to the outlet lanes. Scott gets a piece of the ball. And they try extra hard when they score a basket or 2 because all they need is about 20 seconds in any part of the game, and the Bearcats can blow you out of the game.
So Hardaway, who leads Memphis State in virtually every category, one of the top versatile players in the country, on the bench with 3, so they're calling him tight, and that's got to be the benefit, as you pointed out, to the Bearcats. So the big scorer on the pine for Memphis State.
No, it should be an advantage to Memphis State because the Bearcats are ones that are trapping. We call it quick. They can't trap as well, I believe.
Smith has it blocked by Scott. Little frustration for Memphis State.
It might be time to burn one of your timeouts now, Larry. It might be time to start eating the clock because they know that Penny's out. Here's the pressure again. They really have moved it up.
Larry Finch in his 6th season, trailing here 34-29. Marcus Nolan committing the foul. Both teams in the 1-1 right now, and the next foul against Memphis State will be 2 shots automatically as Herb Jones hits the first.
Let me tell you something that's kind of exciting, I think original. If they miss the foul shot, they trap off a missed foul shot, and that's original.
You don't often see that.
You don't ever see it.
Cincinnati is perfect from the free throw line, 9 for 9, leading by 7.
I burned some time here, just get your confidence back. See?
They nearly turn it over.
Ooh, great
save by Marcus Nolan. He was off the court. Memphis State forcing its shots. Douglas missed, but there's a foul called against Buford. It'll be his first.
The blue and gray are starting to lose their continuity, lose their poise. They need Madlock back. Here comes Madlock back in. They need him back in to settle him down. He is the coach on the court. He's the fellow that's been around for 4 years. He's got his degree already, Dick, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. He's already graduated in 3.5 years, which is really unusual for any athlete in business administration. He's gone to graduate school now and maybe law school in the offing. But Nolan, the man he replaced, made a great save here moments ago. Ernest Smith, unsung hero. He did a great job on John Barry and then Todd Day in the game before that. cuts the lead to 5 for Cincinnati.
Little pressure up court. It's a 2-3. I think it's going to settle back into his zone.
Nearly stolen by Ernest Smith, and it's last touched by Smith, so it's still Bearcats ball. Dick Stockton and Al McGuire here. It's the Midwest Regional Final from Kemper Arena in Kansas City. All the big guys are still alive in the other regionals, but here it's the number 4 seed Cincinnati against the 6-seeded Memphis State Tigers, and Cincinnati is leading by 5. And a reach in and a foul.
Definitely a foul that time on Buford.
That will be Buford's second foul. So on the Bearcats, Corey Blunt, Anthony Buford, and Jeff Scott have 2 fouls. Eric Martin has 3 for the Bearcats.
No doubt that the high-top glass sneaker is coming out of here.
Here's Madlock on the line. Both teams have trapped Al in a 36-31 lead. Neither team could mount a big lead early on, and then Memphis State started to getting a little shaky, and Anthony Hardaway on the bench with 3 personal fouls.
One of the problems, they don't have a number of guards. They got Madlock, and they're very soft in the guard position, so they're vulnerable to traps up court.
1 out of 2 for Madlock. Buford, and they're going to call Madlock for his 3rd foul. So 2 Memphis State starters are in foul trouble now. Madlock picks up 3, and Hardaway already on the bench with a trio.
Coach Finch is saying they were clearing out from inside. It wasn't his guy that committed the foul. He just reacted to the clear out from the left arm.
There's Hardaway, who's the leading scorer, second leading rebounder, top 3-point shooter, and a brilliant passer. And Marcus Nolan, the freshman, gets off the bench, and he'll have to replace Tony Madlock here.
Memphis State,
So Madlock is out with 3 fouls.
You must remember the guy that's shooting now, it's just an interesting fact. He went to Akron. He played for coach at Akron. And when the coach went on to Cincinnati, he only had 1-year eligibility. He sat out last year, so he came to play for Bob because of his connection with Akron.
Huggins was at Akron for 4 years. Memphis State trailing by 6. Dan Exel is not letting Billy Smith get off the threes as he likes to do. He's going to take a long 3, and it's an air ball. Might have hit the front rim. In any event, it'll be Cincinnati's possession. Memphis State a little rattled right now, and Larry Finch still has not used any of his timeouts as you recommended moments ago. There are 4:20 remaining in the first half.
I just thought at that particular time because of the run. Now I think they should eat up a little more clock when they go down. Once you get the ball over half court, pull up a little bit. Got away with a walk that time.
Nelson with a jump shot. He's not the scorer on this club, but right now Nelson has 6 points.
Key possession right here for the first half.
Inside, and they're going to call the blocking foul against Jeff Scott. So now Cincinnati has 2 players with 3 personals here, Scott and Eric Martin, both reserve forwards.
50, Jeff Scott. 3rd personal, team foul for 10. Ernest Smith will shoot 2.
So Ernest Smith is on the free throw line, 70% shooter during the regular season. He has scored 6 points thus far. Here is Corey Blunt, and he'll replace Scott. Blunt has 2 fouls, and Scott goes out with 3.
They're trying to shotgun their fouls. They didn't want, obviously, Hardaway picking up his 3rd. That was a big call. But they want to get maybe 1 or 2 fouls on each of their first 8-man rotation. We call that shotgunning.
That's another one of the phrases that you have originated. You know, the paint and blue chip are old ones now, but, you know, long time ago. You must have been playing the stock market pretty good to come up with blue chip, Al.
I have a nose for the stock market, not the intelligence of it.
Don't fool us. The last lead change gave Cincinnati the advantage at 27-26, and they've been in front ever since. Hardaway on the bench with 3 fouls. That hurts Memphis State. Herb Jones, the leading scorer for the Bearcats in the regular year, doing it again today, and the winner moves on to the Final 4.
Herb Jones is a scorer. He doesn't look like one. In junior college, he had 1,732 points. That's in 2 years. That's a lot of points. Here he is with the ball right now.
Corey Blunt at 6'10", now trying to work his way inside. Marcus Nolan stays in bounds on the steal and now taken right back by Cincinnati. No numbers advantage right here. They get it inside, however, and Vaughn did not want Blunt to get the basket, and he commits the personal foul. Coming up at halftime, Bobby Knight will be live.
50, David Vaughn, second personal.
The only thing I want to be a waiter at the banquet.
Substitution for Memphis State.
Coming into the game for Memphis State is Tim Duncan, the sophomore from Memphis, is 6'8". They've used him to settle down the team often this year, and they've got to do it here. Cincinnati, perfect from the free throw line and also shooting 61% from the field. So Bob Huggins couldn't ask for better shooting from the Bearcats in this first half.
One question for Bobby Knight. If you had to do it over again, Bobby, would you rather have beaten Purdue and went into the big dance relaxed, or are you pleased with losing to Purdue and going into the big dance with your ball players listening to you and the table being set?
Duncan tried to get the rebound on the missed free throw. Loose ball, and Corey Blunt. Cincinnati getting the loose ball so far. Blunt gets the basket as Douglas tried to overplay. And a 9-point lead, the biggest of the game for the Bearcats. No timeout yet?
No timeout now. The trap has any chance they can against the sideline. ID'd up some clock. Wear their legs out a little bit.
Nolan in and out for the three. Again, the loose ball. It's going to be Cincinnati's possession. Herb Jones winds up with the scribes.
See, when I say wear their legs out, a lot of times when you spread out and eat at the clock, where Cincinnati is trapping, to do your traps, you got to cover so much distance. And if you wear their legs down, come the second half, they lose their spark in their legs. Become legged.
This could be a big possession. Legged? Easy for you. Cincinnati can open up a lead of more than 10 here. Nelson, Herb Jones, and they're going to call him for traveling.
Outstanding rebound here. Watch this miss and watch him go for rebound. As he comes over, he gets called for a walk.
Still Memphis State's ball.
Hustles back down court, gets his hand on the ball on the other end.
Jones plays much bigger than the 6'4" that he is listed as.
Well, what he says about a ball game, you're going to win, he says, whatever it takes.
Terrence Gibson will replace Herb Jones. He'll get a hand from the Cincinnati faithful. Jones has scored 12 points and also has 8 rebounds. So he's been the top player on the court for Cincinnati.
They're in the matchup zone. I spread them out, make them run. Be patient. Wait for your start, second half. Penny Hardaway. Close to a 5 count.
Get it into Douglas, and it's turned over to Cincinnati. An ill-advised pass because there were 2 defenders around Douglas under the basket. Larry Finch is yelling for a foul.
Under no way against Cincinnati do you ever put the ball in the corner of the court.
Trapper's green.
That's the bear trap.
Hardaway has had to sit on the bench with 3 personal fouls. And Exel slices in. Would have counted had it gone, and he will go to the free throw line. The junior from Kenosha, one of the many junior college transfers on Bob Huggins' crew.
He has nice body balance when he slashes, and he seems to use his hips to maintain his balance more than a lot of guys use their legs to get balance where they spread their legs out. He jockeys his hips in a disco-type move.
Madlock, who's playing with 3 fouls, has come in for Memphis State. Hardaway went to the bench with 3 fouls with 5.5 minutes remaining in the first half. Cincinnati's opened up the lead since then, and now they have a 10-point bulge.
One left.
Since he's been in the starting lineup since early January, they're 19-1.
He's made the difference. B.J. Ward, a senior forward from Cincinnati, who did not play the other night against UTEP, has come in the game for the Bearcats, leading by 10. Minute and a half to play. Ernest Smith misses. There's Douglas inside, and he follows it up. So they brought Madlock back, Al, with 3 personal fouls, but not Penny Hardaway.
Well, they have to have someone control the tempo and handle the ball.
Terrence Gibson guarded by Hardaway. Man-to-man for Memphis State right now. Terry Nelson. Plenty of time on the shot clock, and kind of a rush shot that time, but it worked for Herb Jones. And the Bearcats will get it back.
Terrible decision on that pass. You're in a one-possession move there. There's 42 seconds left on the clock. So I would think most likely that Cincinnati will play it down for one shot, try to get in with a 12-point lead.
Alan Jackson and Anthony Buford. That's Buford who's come in the game for Cincinnati when Hardaway went to the bench with 3 fouls and 5.5 minutes left in the first half. Cincinnati led by only 3 points, and they threaten now to have more than a 10-point lead at halftime.
Good move by Coach Huggins that time to spread it out, put another ball handler in. They really have 3 guards out there.
Jackson controlling at the top. Shot clock is off.
I'd settle back, Smith. I wouldn't go over to E. I'd settle back, settle back, settle back. It's a double bubble now because it's 2 fouls if you hit him. It's past the 10th foul.
Clock is running down, and now here is Alan Jackson. Off the mark. Rebound, Memphis State.
Let it fly.
There it goes.
If it goes, it's good.
It would have, but it's over everything. And that is the end of the first half with the scores. Cincinnati 46 and Memphis State 36. CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship Regional Final Game is sponsored by Intel, the computer inside. Diet Mountain Dew, full tilt taste. You won't believe it's a diet. Do Diet Dew. And by Stanley. Since 1843, Stanley has been helping people do things right.
Cincinnati trying to beat Memphis State for the 4th time. They are leading by 10 points, 46-36 at the half.
The NCAA Basketball Championship Regional Final Game is sponsored by Pontiac and your local Pontiac dealer. We build excitement. AT&T, proud sponsor of the 1992 U.S. Olympic team. And by Budweiser, the king of beers, who reminds you, friends know when to say when.
Cincinnati trying to beat Memphis State for the 4th time this season and advance to the Final Four. And right now, Al McGuire, it looks as if right now Cincinnati has their number because the poor shooting on Memphis State, the rebounding by Cincinnati is the same story of the previous 3.
Well, what's happening now, Dick, it's no more saving your ball players anymore. It's no more worrying about being blown out. It's now or and never. You've got to go after it. Now you go for the glass slipper. No saving anything.
Anthony Hardaway has 3 personal fouls, a big story in this game. And right now, let's send you over to Jim Gray. Jim?
And that's exactly what the Memphis State coaching staff emphasized at halftime. They felt they really got out of sync with their 2 top guys out on the bench. They felt they played dumb basketball, missing 7 layups or dunks and 6 free throws. And here in the second half, they just want their guys to be patient, take a little more time on offense, and get better shots. Dick?
Good point, because they did rush when they were on offense. So Hardaway and Madlock each playing with 3 fouls. Start out with Douglas, Vaughn, and Billy Smith.
In the second half here, as they attack Cincinnati's pressure, they must attack it and go all the way through to finalize, scoring the baseline.
Billy Smith goes around Blunt. And a rebound and a great outlet pass to Van Exel, but Memphis State back defensively. Leading scorer for Cincinnati, Herb Jones with 14 points. Bearcats shot 59% from the field in the first half. They find Jones, and it's blocked inside. And the follow-up is good. So Vaughn got the block, but Herb Jones on the follow, now with 16.
The ultimate garbage man, Jones. He has a nose for the ball.
Missing is Hardaway. Follow-up, and the foul will be called against the Memphis State Tigers. That may be on Madlock. We'll check. It is. Tony Madlock picks up an early fourth personal foul to make matters even worse for Larry Finch and the Tigers.
I don't know anymore. I really think now you got to leave him in there. You got to go for the marbles. But you can't sit him too long. Maybe just get his head straight and put him back in.
Ernest Smith, who came off the bench and led Memphis State, scoring with 8 points in the first half, replaces Madlock.
So with Madlock out of it, they put extra pressure on Hardaway and handling the ball.
Hardaway is guarding Buford. Buford wants to force him into a foul. Hardaway, good defense and a good rebound, but a bad outlet pass.
Let's see if they set up again with Buford being isolated on one side to take Hardaway to school, try to pick up his fourth foul. There it is. No, Nelson didn't move out. Back to Buford. Let's see if they clear out this time. They're clearing out.
Interesting that Memphis State is playing man-to-man with Hardaway in the game.
Put them on Buford, who was one of their best offensive rebounders.
Good feed inside to Blunt. Gets his own rebound. And a rebound torn down by Anthony Douglas. 12-point lead for the Cincinnati Bearcats. Billy Smith runs without the ball, and they look like a totally ragged team compared to what we saw in the first 3 rounds of this tournament.
Yeah, they're completely out of sync, but give a lot of credit to the Bearcats. They take the game away from you with all the pressure.
And a foul is called away from the ball. It's against Cincinnati.
Memphis State foul from 35, Billy Smith.
Or Memphis State, Billy Smith, and for Smith, that's his first foul.
What he did, he held his jersey. Watch here. Billy Smith, he ended up beating him. See, Exel beat him. Now Billy Smith grabs his jersey.
Can't do that?
Only in rugby.
That's what Memphis State may have to revert to if the trend of this game continues. Van Exel hits a 3. That's his second of the game. He's got both Bearcat threes, and they've opened up a big lead early in the second half.
Good timeout. You got to readjust. You got to go for the marbles now, Larry. Can't sit back any longer. Coach is saying, hey, we're down 15. Let's get our heads in the ball game. Let's not panic. Let's try to get it down to about 8 with about 8 minutes left. There's 17 minutes now. Let's not try to eat up too much each time down. Just grind it out.
Carrying over from the first half, the Tigers have only 1 basket in the last 9 minutes. You can credit the Bearcats' defense for a lot of it. But they're not holding on to the passes. They look very unsure out there.
One of the things they're not doing is attacking the pressure of the Bearcats.
There's Billy Smith, hits the jump shot. Let's see if they can follow it up, 51-38. But Cincinnati looks awfully strong. Remember, they're a number 4 seed, and maybe the Giants are out of here, but a number 4 seed's still pretty good in this tournament.
Well, they're a quality club. They had the 6th best recruiting class in the country last year and ended up bringing in 7 JUCOs.
Van Exel is defended by Smith at the point.
I'd isolate with Buford and Hardaway. I think they're trying to do it. Take it around the horn.
Now they go low into Blunt. And a foul committed by David Vaughn. It'll be his 3rd personal foul. And reaching in was Ernest Smith, so the foul is on Smith. Coming up next, Michigan against Ohio State.
Well, you know, yesterday, Dick, the UCLA-Indiana game was a blowout, and the second game might have been the best game in modern-day basketball. So maybe today, if this ends up being a blowout, which is a long time yet, that the second game you might get a top view with Michigan against Ohio State.
That game shapes up as a big one. Ohio State won the first 2 meetings of the season. They're going to have to be concerned about beating Michigan for a third straight time.
Fabulous five. They are good. They are talented. The only thing I fear with them, if they drop behind, they'll have a problem. Here goes the future All-American.
One free throw at the line, and Hardaway hits a three. So Smith and Hardaway have connected to end a drought for Memphis State, still trailing by 11.
Hey, remember you got
a foul against Van Exel.
Excuse me, Dick. Hey, Penny, you better remember you got 3 fouls. I know you want to be aggressive, but you can't play from Pine City. A little bit too aggressive here. Got a nice call. This basket can move him a little bit closer, a little bit at a time, a tiny little bit.
Billy Smith hits another three.
A tiny little bit.
It's down to 8. It was 15.
They don't want Penny to pick up his 4th.
Although he is playing aggressive defense nonetheless.
Have no choice.
Here's Herb Jones. He'll go to work offensively soon. Buford.
Get out of there, Nelson. Let Buford take him down.
Blunt. He had a big height advantage over Ernest Smith there, and he took advantage and has a 10-point lead again for Cincinnati.
Well, if anyone wants to shoot, they want him to shoot from there.
Off the rim by David Vaughn. Loose ball. Vaughn has it. And it comes down to Herb Jones in a 2-on-1 opportunity. Van Exel has Blunt.
Here's the magician. He's there. Back it up. Set up. Doesn't kill his dribble. Very smart. See, he didn't kill his dribble. Kept it alive.
Great feed from Blunt to Herb Jones, but it was Blunt who made the big pass on the baseline. And all of a sudden, it's up to 12 again. Jones with 18 points and 10 rebounds. He's been the player of the game thus far.
You got to know when to hold and know when to fold.
Vaughn gets the roll. So David Vaughn going to work now has 7 points. Leading scorer Billy Smith from Memphis State with 11.
Need a stop here to make it a ball game.
Plenty of time remaining. Very few teams have sustained good leads in this tournament. One of the teams was Indiana yesterday against UCLA.
Want to take the ball around a few times here. A lot of touches. Take the clock down. Try to get Hardaway's 4th foul.
Jones with a 3. Herb Jones with his first 3-point basket, and he's got 21.
E. Smith fell asleep that time. Should have moved up on him.
Hardaway gets it to Smith. That's Billy Smith. Missed the layup out of bounds. It's still Memphis State's ball, and a whole host of substitutions coming in. Tim Duncan will come in for Memphis State. Alan Jackson, Jeff Scott, and Eric Martin from the bench for Cincinnati as Blunt and Van Exel get a much-deserved breather. And now they're going to bring Tony Madlock in the game with 4 fouls, so that's a good move.
Good move. It's time. You might even sat a little bit too long. You need the senior in there. You need the maturity. You bounce the court. He knows to get the ball into Hardaway's hands if possible. There it is.
Scott's doing a good job defensively for Cincinnati, number 50, to keep the ball from going inside. Duncan. Well, a lot of the balls are going around that rim and going in, just about all of them so far in this game.
He dunked that donut. Ooh, that hurts. Mittenboro, Texaco hour.
That's 3 plugs in the last 12 seconds.
Got to move up in 3-point land.
You're right, Memphis State has to get a couple of defensive stops here. They can't trade.
Buford's down the blocks. My whole offensive attack in the half court here would give the ball to Buford and clear out. Let him take Hardaway. You got 8 on the shot clock.
They're working against Madlock with 4 fouls, and Jackson gets the pass inside. Getting his own rebound is Eric Martin.
Oh, Hardaway reached in. Oh!
You know, I thought he walked. I thought he walked.
If he walked, the walk came first. But if he didn't walk, I think that's number 4.
That's on Duncan, Al, too.
Okay.
Let's see if he walked on the replay.
Got to take it a step further.
He did a dance. If he didn't walk, he did the cha-cha.
He's in the boardwalk in Atlantic City.
So here is Martin Duncan with the foul, his second personal foul. Madlock playing with 4 and Hardaway with 3. Big story is the 2 stars, the senior stability in the backcourt. Madlock has 4. Hardaway, the Memphis State star, has 3, but both Scott and Martin come off the bench for Cincinnati, so that's not as critical as the Memphis State fouls.
Mainly because, as you said, they're both the backcourt ball players.
12-point lead, Cincinnati.
Cincinnati goes to a matchup zone.
Nearly 8 minutes elapsed in the second half. Hardaway off the mark. And they're going to call a foul. It'll be on Memphis State, and it'll be 3 on Ernest Smith. Ernest Smith has 8 points in the game, doubling his season's average. He's in there for defense, and now he's in a bit of foul trouble.
Plus the team, that's the 5th personal foul. There's only 1 foul on Cincinnati as a team. But then one of the Achilles heels of Cincinnati is they don't shoot great foul shooting from as a team.
Herb Jones misses a 3. Madlock recovers. Jones, the leading scorer, with 21 points in the game. Hardaway from the corner fires it up and throws up an air ball. That's 2 straight air balls from 3-point land by Penny Hardaway, and Van Exel buries that. Right now it doesn't look very good for Memphis State as Cincinnati showing their strength.
Memphis State needs more patience. There's plenty of time left. They're rushing. Good timeout by the coach. He burnt the second, leaves them with 1.
Welcome back to Kansas City. I'm Jim Gray. I'm now joined by Steve Palermo, the American League umpire who was shot last year in Dallas while breaking up a robbery. Steve, how's your rehabilitation going?
Unfortunately, it's not as quick a pace as this basketball game is. I wish it was, and I'd be down in spring training right now.
Do we and will we see you on the field this year?
I hope so. There's no set timetable with this type of an injury. You can't forecast it, but I'm really hoping that I can get back out there in 1992.
Steve, great to see you and your wife, Debbie. Good luck.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it.
Dick.
All right, Jim. Courageous man and a great umpire. Steve Palermo. David Vaughn misses the shot, and here comes Cincinnati again. Buford. Short with it, and the rebound taken down by Tim Duncan. Madlock playing with 4 fouls, and Ernest Smith goes to 3.
Trying to get back in too soon. Play a little bit slower, Memphis State.
11 minutes remaining in the second half.
Cincinnati is really well coached. This is an amoeba-type defense here with pressure on the ball. The other 4 guys like a jellyfish down there. They kind of swing and sway wherever lanes are trying to block.
Hardaway gets it in, and it's blocked by Blunt on Vaughn's shot, and they're going to call the foul on Corey Blunt, and that will be his 3rd personal foul. Here's a guy who gave up basketball after his senior year in high school. He thought too short at 6'5". I don't think that's too short, but then he grew 6 inches after graduation, and here he is.
More a finesse player. He's not a down-low player. I would say more like a 4 or 3 in pro. Would need upper body strength. This guy also will need upper body strength, but that will come in time. He's just a young man. Great future ahead of him.
Vaughn only 2 field goals. Coming up next, Michigan and Ohio State. Chris Webber can't afford to get into foul trouble in this game for the Wolverines, Al.
Not as early as he got in foul trouble the other day, but he's a very active player when he's out there. He pretty close to being a freshman of the year.
Well, Vaughn misses both free throws. Here comes Jackson, and they're going to get Hardaway with his 4th foul, grabbing the jersey as Jackson went by him.
That was not a thinking man's foul, Anthony.
Anthony Douglas will come in and replace David Vaughn.
Also Billy Smith replacing Ernest Smith.
That's one of the nicest names, Dick. Anthony
Hardaway. They call him Penny, but Penny Hardaway stays in the game with his 4th foul. Billy Smith also checks in for Memphis State. 63-48, the Cincinnati Bearcats have dominated this game. It was close early on. That's what Memphis State wanted to do, but Cincinnati's defense just too much for the Tigers.
Good offensive spacing, movement.
Van Exel drives the baseline, and a good half-court offense.
The unsung hero of Cincinnati.
19 points for Van Exel. Jones has 21. But they've got 40, and Memphis State only has 48 in the game. Good fake by Billy Smith. And Hardaway going up draws the foul and playing recklessly as he must do even with 4 personal fouls at this stage.
There's a nice move in the baseline.
Eric Martin with his 4th foul, and here is Herb Jones back in the lineup. He has outscored the Memphis State starting front court and has out-rebounded them as well. So that's what Herb Jones has done for his team thus far. Nelson, the other starting forward, is also checked in for Cincinnati.
One of his weaknesses is his foul shooting.
Maybe his only one, 65% from the line. He had a technical foul and everything went wrong in the first half of the last game against Georgia Tech, and he was brilliant in the second half. But Memphis State struggling here in both halves. 65-49 with just under 10 minutes to go in the second half.
Diamond trap, 1-2-1. Douglas playing a one-man zone down low. There he is, almost stole it.
Buford, as Memphis State tried to gamble on the pass, and Buford beat him down the middle, and he's got now 8 points in the game.
Just like a safety in football, if you gamble, you better make sure you're right, because if you miss, it's a touchdown.
18-point lead is the biggest of the game for Cincinnati.
Player hurt down on the floor. Good whistle by the referee.
Injured player for Memphis State is Billy Smith.
It is Billy Smith holding on to his right ankle. He'll be replaced by Ernest Smith, and that looks like a tough ankle injury that won't go away that fast.
And also Cincinnati will play more zones, and he's their zone buster.
We have not heard much from the Memphis State fans. They were all excited when they left their hotel today, over 3,000 of them. That confetti toss after their first basket was the last hurrah for them. 67-49. Blunt with a bounce pass to Nelson. Van Exel. He gets another 3. That's his 4th of the game, and he's got 22 points and is now the Bearcats' leading scorer.
Cincinnati is a good team. That big 3 that ends up there in Minneapolis, Minnesota, better not underrate this club.
Better not. Especially if Ohio State gets there, Al. Madlock feeding inside to Duncan. You remember Cincinnati shocked Ohio State in the 1961 and 62 championships when Jerry Lucas and John Havlicek played for the Buckeyes.
They don't stop no matter what the score is. They keep coming at you. They're like Rocky Marciano of yesteryear.
Here is Buford, and he's got a 3. That's 6 3-point baskets for Cincinnati, and they've opened up a 73-51 bulge with nearly 8 minutes remaining. Hardaway driving in. But Memphis State's not giving any indication that they're going to make any kind of a run in this game.
The reason why they're not making a run, they're trying to do it individually than rather as a team.
Kelvin Allen will replace Tim Duncan for Memphis State.
That's why if you'll notice, Dick, a lot of the clubs, the All-Americans, have been knocked out of the tournament already because with the modern-day defenses, you can stop any one player.
Madlock way wide with the 3. Only one time in Division I history has one team beat another 4 times in 1 year, and that's when Kentucky beat Alabama 4 times in 1986. And Cincinnati on the verge of doing it for the 2nd time in history against Memphis State.
They're very close to the Grand Slam. Was this kid quick?
That's Van Exel you're talking about. Blunt. Nelson. What a flake pass. The basket counts to Blunt. Reminded me of the Harlem Globetrotters a little bit there, Al.
Nice bounce pass, interior passing. when you do interior passing, it's much better for the bounce because you're so close together, it's easier to handle the ball. Now they're kicking into the post. Now here comes the cut. Turned his head, nice bounce pass. Can end up a three-point play if he downs it from the charity line, which is 15 feet away from the basket.
Thank you for telling us where the lines are on the floor. That's always important. Ernest Smith picking up his 4th personal foul, and here is Blunt, who tonight has 12 points. 7.5 minutes to play. Earlier in the game, the Cincinnati cheerleaders were saying 4-0, 4-0, 4-0. They're headed that way.
You are watching the NCAA Basketball Championship on CBS.
If you love basketball, you'll love next Saturday on CBS. The women's semifinals and the men's Final Four semifinals. They say that's the best day of the basketball season, and it is for Minneapolis. We'll conclude the day. Into the game for Memphis State, the freshman guard from Memphis, Chris Haynes, number 14, has not played in this tournament till now. And Madlock throws the ball away. Anthony Douglas claiming it was tipped off a Cincinnati player, but it'll be Bearcats ball leading 76-51.
They've lost their cohesiveness. They just need to settle down, need a couple of baskets, but it's not their day.
They were down by 10. Memphis State was. Cut it to 8 after it's been up to 15 points, and then quickly it was back to 15. And Cincinnati has been coasting ever since.
They made one run in the second half, but they tried to eat too much rice at one sitting. They've got to go very slowly.
Blunt has it batted away, and it's last touched by Blunt off of his knee, so it'll turn it over for Memphis State. They hit a couple of threes. Billy Smith and Anthony Hardaway hit a couple of threes, and they went on a tear, but it's been their only consistent offensive show in this game. Michigan and Ohio State will follow in Lexington in the Southeast Regional Final. We'll play the winner of this game. Haynes throws the ball away.
Shows his inexperience at PT playing time. He's only a freshman. He's 6'5".
Hardaway and Vaughn, they never really got underway today for the Memphis State Tigers.
What happened with about 8 minutes to go in the first half, the two key plays as far as running the show, Madlock and Hardaway, were in foul trouble.
They've been shooting 30% between them. During the regular year against Cincinnati, they also struggled.
Try many touches from now on each time down.
Buford driving in, and we'll have a foul against the Tigers. Cincinnati continues to play their starters. Buford and Van Exel in the backcourt, Nelson and Jones up front, and Blunt the center. The foul is against Vaughn, his 3rd.
Buford at the line. Shooting 2.
There is Anthony Buford, who had one of his best days of the season against Michigan State in the revenge victory for the Bearcats against the Spartans with 21 points.
He makes the team tick.
Well, you got to respect the great Midwest Conference for sending 2 teams into the Elite 8 and 1 into the Final Four. Hardaway with the jumper, he's got 12.
The last time a team got to the Final Four from the conference in his first year was North Carolina versus Charlotte. That was the Sun Conference, I believe.
Right, Sun Belt. Don't forget the belt.
You remember who the commissioner was from Duke?
Vic Bubas.
Right, on the money.
You've been in the Final Four a few times. Duke is going back for the 5th straight time. Cincinnati made 5 straight trips to the Final Four from 59 to 63, and they're headed there again. And a Memphis State foul on Anthony Hardaway, and that will do it. We'll see a lot more of him in future years, but for this year, that's it.
That's it, son, but you got a couple more good years. He set out last year, Proposition 48. Reached in that time. He's on his heels, and he reached in and committed the foul.
Little ticky-tack, but he's out of there. 12 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. And not to take any sides, I'm just sorry that the people around the country couldn't see Anthony Hardaway at his best today.
Well, they'll catch him. The country will know him. This is what coach is saying from sun, settle down. You had a good run as a freshman. We'll be back next year.
Memphis State totally mad about replaces Harlan.
One of the best players in the country, leading in so many categories. And you remember before the game, he says, you know, I had a dream last night that I was putting on a Final Four t-shirt.
It'll come if he's fortunate. Tried too hard, but that's youth. You know, they think they can climb every mountain.
Van Exel misses the free throw.
Take about 20 seconds off, then go for it. They look for back doors now, bringing their wingmen high.
Eric Martin is in the game for Cincinnati. Still have most of their regulars in there, including Herb Jones, who has 21 points. And a 5-second violation will turn the ball over to Memphis State with 5:06 remaining in the game.
The call that time, if you didn't see it, was because Herb Jones was clearing out with his right arm.
Billy Smith has his three-point attempt blocked by Van Exel. Now, this Cincinnati is a relentless, withering defensive unit, and they never take a breath.
They take you completely out of your ball game.
Billy Smith on the rebound. Batted into the hands of Jones, and a 3-on-1 advantage now for the Bearcats. Buford, 80-53 the score. David Vaughn buries it from outside.
You're right now watching what we call ping pong. Up and down. Take a few shots for the average.
Lost the ball going up at Buford. Ernest Smith has got it. They had a 3-on-1. Rebound Allen on Vaughn's miss, and a Cincinnati foul inside. The Bearcats are headed for their 10th victory in a row and a trip to the Final Four. Will play one of these teams, Michigan and Ohio State. What a battle that would be if it's Ohio State or Michigan with all the freshmen. But Cincinnati, the anonymous member of the four, maybe.
And definitely the Cinderella team. But you got to remember, you need time to work out against their pressures.
Forget about one size fits all.
Of Cincinnati has hit 7 in a row. He's the high scorer. Penny Hardaway fouled out for Memphis State. Look at the shooting disparity here in the second half, and Cincinnati can start making reservations for Minneapolis. Under 4 minutes to play. Billy Smith off the side, and the rebound by Duncan.
Last time out, Bob Huggins told him no fouls. Let's go to a tight 2-3 zone.
So the junior college transfers and the transfers from 2 other schools. Only one member came into Cincinnati as a freshman. Bob Huggins has got the chemistry going in a hurry for this team, and the Bearcats headed for a 29-4 record. And will go to Minneapolis. Great achievement for this team.
Great job by Bob Huggins in 3 years of turning around and become one of the Final Four for a new conference, which is the Great Midwest. And congratulations to their commissioner, Mike Slide. There's only 6 teams in that conference.
Great feed to Martin. I tell you, Cincinnati passes to cutters as well as I've seen in this entire tournament. Martin gets the basket.
If they have a softness, it's their outside shooting. They're not a great offensive ball club. But on the flip side, their defense is their offense.
Coming into the game is Alan Jackson and Terrence Gibson for Cincinnati as Buford and Van Exel leave the game. Exel leaves with 22 points, so the starting backcourt is out. And a substitution for Memphis State, and they'll start to empty their bench. Todd Munt, 7-foot junior from Jackson, Tennessee. And here is Eric Martin. It's all celebration time for the last 3 minutes of this game. 83-57 the score. Billy Billy Smith. And the outlet pass to Jones. Going to use the clock. Duke and Indiana. What a fascinating matchup that is, Al McGuire.
Toughest part of that game, in my opinion, would be who's going to ref it. I think that's a very difficult game to ref because I feel it's going to be extremely physical, a lot of back picks, rotation. Both can go back 8-9 men, and there's no surprises. These coaches know each other, and so the referees have a very difficult job in that game.
Mike Krzyzewski played for Bobby Knight, and they were in West Point. Herb Jones drives in for the layup, 23 points. He now becomes Cincinnati's leading scorer, plus 13 rebounds. Clearly the player of this game with under 2 minutes to go. Cincinnati in a runaway. And for only the second time in history, one team will have beaten another 4 times in a given season. Tonight on CBS, 60 Minutes, followed by Murder, She Wrote and the CBS Sunday night movie, Highway Heartbreaker, starring John Schneider, Linda Gray, Heather Locklear, and Tracy Nelson. It all starts tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern, right here on CBS. Blunt and Jones have left the game as the Bearcats have emptied their bench. Munt fighting for the loose ball, and it'll be Cincinnati's possession.
You got 2 sumo wrestlers in there now. What the Cincinnati fans want is they want Rock to score. He's a local favorite there.
Mike Reichenegger, biggest player ever to play at Cincinnati. And the basket by Eric Martin. He has 8 points. Cincinnati goes back to the Final Four. Duncan misses the shot. They very nearly became the first team ever to win 3 straight national championships. Loyola prevented that in 1963 in overtime after the Bearcats had a big lead and lost it as they went into a stall.
Some of the people don't realize that Robinson was never on the championship team.
That's right. Oscar never made it to a title.
Tonight.
87-57, and Bob Huggins, a relaxed coach. And speaking of coaches, Al, I really enjoyed working with you in this tournament. Glad you're on our side at CBS.
Thank you. We had a lot of great ball games. This one was a blowout, but that's the way it is. You get some good ones, you get some that are also ran.
Right now, you're still the last coach to beat Cincinnati in the NCAA tournament. That hasn't changed.
That's right. We did it in 1977 in the first round in Omaha. Matter of fact, I haven't lost a game since then because I haven't coached the game.
Well, you coach from here. A little bit.
It's easy to coach when you're not sitting on the bench.
Cincinnati with the ball. New players in for both teams. Jackson, Reichenegger for a 3. Crowd would have gone wild if the 7-footer had hit. And all reserves: Danielle Scott, Leon Mitchell, Russell Young, and Todd Munt, along with Marcus Nolan in there for Memphis State. And there's Reichenegger. Tries to throw it off a Memphis State Tiger, and he does. Well, while we're thanking some people, we want to thank some more. The coordinating producer of NCAA basketball on CBS is Bob Dekas. Today's game was produced by Robert D. Stenner and directed by Larry Cavallina. The Road to the Final Four was produced by David Winter and Eric Mann and directed by Duke Struck. The senior producer of CBS Sports is Ed Gorin, and the executive producer of CBS Sports is Ted Shaker. And I don't know if we have any names yet for Ted Shaker's new son. I know you said Salt or Pepper, and that might have been thought about at some point in the past.
Well, if it was twins, it'd be nice. Pepper Shaker, Salt Shaker.
We also want to thank Marty Aronoff for his fine work at the table throughout this tournament. Coming up next, Michigan and Ohio State. They'll be playing the Cincinnati Bearcats, one of the two who will survive in Lexington. And the crowd, Cincinnati, been yelling 4-0. First time since 1986 when Kentucky beat Alabama 4 times in 1 year. And we have a name. It's just come in. William Charles Shaker. William Charles Shaker.
That's very nice, Teddy. Congratulations to your wife, and I hope he has a beautiful life, the young guy.
We'll call him Will or Billy or something.
I still think you should call him Pepper.
Maybe the next one. Free throw by B.J. Ward. Under a minute to go, and the possession arrow goes the same way. So Memphis State, our congratulations, Al, goes to them. They finished 23-11, and when they were 8-6 after losing at Southern Mississippi, I don't even think they would get to the tournament, but they got to the regional final.
To get to the tournament, they had to beat UAB. Otherwise, they had 10 losses. If they would have lost to UAB, they wouldn't have gotten. They would have went to the NIT. So they did an excellent job getting this far. Coach Fitch can be proud of himself. But today, it all belongs to Huggins, Bob Huggins, who did a great job only in his 3rd year at Cincinnati.
Memphis State with only 21 points in the second half. Credit the great defense of the Bearcats. And one of those Big Ten teams will see that full court pressure in the next game in Minneapolis. Bearcats will go to 29-4, 10 in a row. You couldn't be any hotter going into the Final Four, Al.
No, they got a nice giant roll going for them. Confidence. But they will be the underdog.
Typing in is Leon Mitchell. He misses. Herb Jones had 23. Van Exel 22 for Cincinnati. As the final seconds tick off. And the final score here in Kansas City sees the Cincinnati Bearcats defeat Memphis State 88-57. And so we have 3 of the 4 teams of the Final Four all worked out. Duke and Indiana in one game, and Cincinnati will play the winner of Michigan and Ohio State next Saturday in the national semifinals at the Metrodome. And our Chevrolet players of the game, Billy Smith of Memphis State and Herb Jones of Cincinnati. Thanks to Jim Gray and Al McGuire. This is Dick Stockton saying so long from Kemper Arena, where the Bearcats win in a runaway. And right now, let's send you to New York and Pat O'Brien. Pat?